What's up YouTube? I have a really fun project idea. So I was watching the Woodwright shop and the patron saint of woodworking education, Mr. Roy Underhill, was making one of these. It's a wooden lock, and this design has been around since ancient Egypt, and I've definitely seen it on the interwebs in different places. But I wanted to make one, but I didn't want it like this. I wanted to miniaturize it and make it much, much smaller, and then figure out what do I do with it. So what I'm thinking is, I'm gonna make this lock, and then as I'm doing it, we're gonna see what turns out. I don't actually have a project idea, but I do wanna make the lock and I want to put it on something. So I'm gonna grab some wood, I'm gonna start working on the lock, and then we'll see where this goes. Okay, let me get you caught up on where I'm at so far. I got the first part of the lock done, which is the mechanism that has the lock bolt that slides in and out, that locks the drawer or the door or the box or whatever I'm making right now. I'm not really sure. So how that works is it has a slot for the bolt to slide in and out, and then that bolt is locked down with 3 pins. So I made these tiny little wooden pins, and each one has a little notch cut out, and that gives us room for the key. So the key can slide in, it will go into those pins, and when you lift the key up, the pins raise up, and then that unlocks the bolt. So then that bolt lever can slide in and out. When you take the key out, the pins fall back in place because of gravity, and that will lock the bolt back in place. So now I gotta work on the next stage, which is that bolt has to go into something. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another little rectangle so that the bolt can slide into place, and that will hold together whatever we're making. And then once I get that, we'll see what this project turns into. Well, that was certainly a whole lot of work, but it's turned out pretty awesome so far. So let me tell you about how I got to this section. All right, so I made the part that has the pins inside the lock and the bolt slides into place and locks into place. Then you got to make some sort of mating section that the bolt will go into. That's usually attached to like a door. Or you could even do a box where the box lid comes down and then the bolt slides into place and it locks the lid so it can't open back up. So I made those two sections, had it all ready, and then I thought, I've made a million boxes with hinges and that stuff. What if instead I did a box that has a dowel in it and the box slides open instead of lifting open? How would I lock that? And there's a couple ways to do that, but what I decided was, what if I added a pin that raises and lowers into the box lid so it can't open whenever it's locked? So what I did was I took my two pieces that I'd already made and I glued them together, and then I veneered the whole thing to make it one mechanism, because it doesn't need to be two mechanisms anymore. They're not going to be separated. So I veneered it all together, used a nice little piece of figured maple, made it a little bit thicker so I can now embed this or inlay this into the side of a box. That will look really good. And then I took a piece of some live edge that I had of maple and I glued that to my bolt, and it just gives it a cool look and something to grab onto. And in the back side, I added some plexiglass because I think it's kind of cool to see the mechanisms in here. And then I have my key. So let me tell you how this thing works. You stick the key into the lock and then lift the key up. And when you do, you can now pull the bolt, and then my lever just dropped down. Now my box can slide open. I push the bolt back in, the lever pops back up, my key comes out, it's locked into place. It's pretty clever. What I love about this is that this is a design that has been used for centuries, thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians used this. That's how great this was. So I know some of you are probably saying, why don't you do metal pins? It'll be stronger. Or why don't you add a spring here or a latch there? That's not what this is about. This is about paying homage to a classic design that was just so creative that I think it's inspiring, and I have to build something that includes that. Now that my lock is done, I gotta put this on something. So I need to go through my scrap wood, find some really nice pieces of something. I don't even know what species I'll use, something that goes with figured maple, obviously. Design that, embed that in there, get my lid that pivots, make sure this whole thing works. It's gonna be a lot of work, but a lot of fun. I got my box glued up, and that includes the lock, which is already inlaid in here. So all of this is just drying. Now I found this really cool piece of maple. Look at that. Look at that live edge. That is awesome. So I found this. I'm thinking it might be a really good lid. It's a tad thin, so I'll have to mill it up and see if it'll work, but fingers crossed. I'm gonna throw a little bit of oil and wax on this thing and wrap it up. I think this turned out pretty cool, especially for a project where I didn't really know what I was gonna make at the end. So if you've never done that before, where you build something and just went one piece at a time, not really having an end goal in mind, I highly recommend you do it because it really will stretch those creativity muscles. So I guess the final thing is, what do I do with it?
That belongs in a museum.
That seems a bit much, don't you think? All right, fine, make you a deal. If you can find it, you can put it in a museum.